Hello. So I was watching the discussion which um, Sam Tideman had with Jonathan Pageau and John Vervaeke. And it's interesting. Specifically, a lot of the stuff that John Vervaeke said. Um, and I wanted to discuss it. Um, I was talking to Yosef actually about it a little bit, and um, oh yeah, Sam Tideman definitely fits in, um, and he knows a lot. Um, Tiedemann, Sam Tiedemann. I never say his name right. Um, Yosef also knows a lot about this stuff, uh, but at the same time, there's a lot that really it seems nobody knows. It's not just the literature. Even Yosef kind of felt that the literature is kind of small. Um, yeah, thank you, Don, for pointing it out. Uh, well, I am my what you call it my that's uh that's pretty much what I am right now. Kind of. But um the this is important stuff, right? We're talking about how AI is what its effects are going to be on people, and um, unfortunately, I felt like there isn't um, enough discussion. There wasn't enough discussion. Um, Vervaeke did discuss some um, studies. He didn't really say which ones too much. Yosef feels that Vervaeke is talking to a very limited set of people, and I don't know how much the clinical focus is. My interest is clinical. I personally have started seeing people whose cognition is being influenced by, if not, I mean, at the very least, has become involved and focused upon their interactions with AI. The generative AI that we currently have. Uh, and it's pretty clear that people are using it in ways that is absolutely not healthy. Um, and in fact, I'm hoping to write something to submit to peer review with um, Yosef to discuss what a framework for discussing this. So, to explain, therapy works because um, you mean upcycle? I don't. I've never. I'm not sure I've really spoken to upcycle before. So the reason therapy works is because we talk to other people and they help us stay sane. That's important. We have our cognitive biases, we have our limitations. And I mean, yeah, Yon God, as usual, hits the nail on the head. And this is something that they discussed, right? We are getting involved with electronic media, and this is something that I've been kind of mulling over myself. Okay, my mind's all over the place. I need a discussant. Young God, if you're not too busy changing diapers, would love for you to jump on. Or anybody else who has intelligent things to say about this. But the yeah, I mean, Mary Harrington is talking about it. The Pope put out an encyclical, which I also haven't read. And it might just be a good idea for me to speak about this stuff with Father Eric tonight. So the printing press made a huge difference in human cognition. Writing made a huge impression on human cognition. Electronic media is having a huge effect on human cognition. I am not sure how distinct our interactions with AI chatbots and generative AI is distinct from everything else that goes along with our interactions, starting with radio. And okay, I mean, Andrew, you can jump on. I mean, you are an electrician, so you know a lot about electronics. And my concern, he's around. Tideman, yeah. I mean, Sam, I would love to have this discussion with you, but since Sam is here, I'm going to go back to what my primary concern is, which is we are already seeing, I can't say it's AI induced psychosis, depression, and mania. It may be AI exacerbated, and those three mental states are separate. This is actually probably the main thrust of my of the article I want to write with Yosef, which is, hello, Andrew.
How's it going, Jacob?
Shouldn't you be sleeping?
It's Monday. I always have trouble.
You always have trouble sleeping on Mondays. This is not going to help your sleep. So, I mean, we're not at a point where there's enough information for anyone to reasonably say if what is going on is AI induced. Well, we'll just call it psychosis, but I am concerned about all three of those states, and they are separate. We certainly can't say that these states are even triggered by AI itself necessarily. What may be happening is that people in these states become entangled with AI, and so it looks like AI is the problem. Yes, I may be. I may in fact. I may in fact ban Claire from my channel. I've been thinking about it and discussing it. But it's impossible to say if AI is even making these states worse as opposed to making them better. So, hypothesis: person who is in one of these psychological states, dysfunctional psychological states, starts interacting with AI. It may in fact be helping them and may be reducing the state. I mean, I doubt it. I'm not very I'm not convinced from my experiences that it's reducing it in everyone, certainly. But it may in fact be reducing these states in people. That is a possibility. We don't have enough data, right? And I want there to be a scientific discussion about what is interaction with AI doing. And it was very distressing when I spoke with Yosef about this stuff, that he was trying to help me dig into the literature. So there are these things which are called atlases, which are meant to help map the threats, the types of things that AI engineers should be worried about. AI psychosis wasn't even listed as one of them on any of these maps. I checked several of these atlases. Yes, these atlases basically shrugged. None of them include AI psychosis, which is the term people have started using. And that, I mean, I saw Mark Andreessen tweeted out AI psychosis is cope, and I was like, oh no, AI psychosis is not cope. We don't have proper discussions here in this field, and it's a place where our attention should be focused, and there should be hello, Brett. And there should be some level of engagement. I want to see something like AI psychosis. I was looking to these atlases to find a term to help understand, to identify, to allow for further discussion, and they're not there. It's nowhere in the literature. And if people who actually know what they're talking about, including clinicians, aren't getting involved, we might be looking at something that is going to be really bad, because large numbers of people are using AI, and they're using it a lot more than I think they are admitting to using it. People, I mean, everybody I know uses AI, and I use AI.
I
I'm
don't use
actually.
AI.
You don't use AI at all?
I don't use AI at all. I mean, except for, you enter something in the Google search bar and it forces you to.
Except for exactly.
Well, that's not my fault,
Yeah, Google search bar automatically uses AI. No, I mean that's not what I'm worried about. I am actually most concerned with so some forms of AI. Chat GPT, I believe, does this, or maybe it's Claude, but some forms of AI keep a memory um, from chat to chat. It's not a new discussion every time. That is incredibly dangerous. That AI is going to know you better than you know yourself. And the not narcissism, what do they call it? There's a term for the type of the what's the term? There's a particular term for the tendency that AI has to reinforce and to flatter you and to what do they call that?
Just call it flattery.
No, but there's an actual term. Okay, this is going to bother me. But
Yeah, Up's used it. I forget what it is.
yeah,
It goes along with the whole hallucination thing.
right. So one of the things, sycophancy. Thank
That's it.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, sycophancy. Right. So this has been identified as an obvious problem, right? But what people don't seem to realize is that sycophancy. So I found one peer-reviewed journal article which talks about this, which is that the reason a therapeutic relationship works, the reason why when you go to a psychologist it's actually therapeutic is because the therapist is trying to through motivational interviewing and through you know feedback, etc., is trying to minimize your cognitive biases and trying to help you actually go back to a normal state of thinking. Sycophancy is the absolute opposite of that. And like I've seen there's this term called folie à deux, which it means the um, mental illness of two people, right? And I've seen like in a psycho ward, I've seen two people who are psychotic who can't have a discussion with sane human beings start talking to each other and start feeding off each other, and they're like they go off on their psychotic breaks together. That's it's real. And uh you know I've seen it in people with AI trying to discuss things with AI. The sycophancy reinforces those tendencies in their cognition. I mean, this is the absolute opposite of therapy. It's like you're doing surgery and you're deliberately not using antiseptic techniques. You're just cutting people open and allowing all kinds of microbes in. You're going to make people sick.
Hey, Jacob.
Yes.
So I just want to ask, what do you think, when we think about our evolutions of progress, like people, going from memorization and learning to writing, right? Like
Mhm.
Socrates talked about the dangers of that. And then books, right? Once books were started to be mass printed, and then the computer, and now AI, and there may be some more in between. But what do you think? I mean, obviously, there were negatives to all of those particular things, right? But weren't there great positives in all of those
Of
things too?
course.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like if somebody's allowed to write, now we get every weirdo that has an idea to be able to write something down, and we have it for posterity. And we have people reading Nietzsche, and we have people reading some of the most toxic writings. I'm not saying Nietzsche. I'm just saying,
Yeah, I get it.
and so like AI, if I'm individually layering on my concepts to my particular AI or a bad AI, eventually I'll probably go south, or it'll go south, or it'll get a bad reputation for taking people south. But I mean, there are some that aren't quite as bad as others, and it's almost like a fine tuning thing that's happening with this whole LLM model, where some seem to have more integrity than others,
Mhm.
right? A different goal than others. And eventually it's going to get to a point where nobody's going to trust it's the one except this one, right? Because it's been proven, it has a proven track record of trying to seek the truth, not trying to make you feel good.
I mean, okay. I, so let me start with the caveats. Um, I think that Vervaeke is far more pessimistic than I would be. I think the idea that we are going to um, I, I'm not a Luddite. I believe in technological progress. I believe that this is going to be a part of technological progress. And frankly, I am not sure that the distinction we make between the technological progress, this is one of the things I've been thinking about. Look, the fact that we're dealing with computers, right? The amount of calculations and searches and database storage that computers are doing, right? That might actually ultimately dwarf what we right now see as the dangers of AI in my estimation. Because certainly our children, I mean, I grew up with a computer. um I don't know how many people around my age, but the younger you are, I was one of the early adopters of computers and the internet. If you're younger than I am, you may have grown up. I've certainly seen children who have grown up with a smart device in their hand constantly, right? And like Vervaeke points out, we are natural born cyborgs, right? We are not just tool using creatures, we're tool integrating creatures. We integrate our tools into our cognition, right? You learn how to ride a bike, you never forget it. Why? Because you become capable and integrated with bike riding. Same thing with learning to drive, right? There's a reason why I feel at one with my car when I install myself in that driver's seat. And similar things may be happening simply with the computer. Let's not even dealing with AI. And then AI is adding a whole other characteristic. Now, I'm not a transhumanist. I believe that everything like comes down to human beings. I believe creation was created for human beings, right? So I'm not looking to transcend humanity in any shape, but I do believe in human domination of the material universe. I believe that is God's kingdom come, right? And this is, I mean, part of the thing. I think somebody like Chazi, if when he, I think he will listen to the discussion that Vervaeke, Pageau, and Sam had. I think he's going to be, first of all, he's going to reject much of it because he's much more optimistic about AI than he's a messianist of the greatest sort, which is, I love him. I to be more messianic than me, I think is a beautiful thing. At the same time, I think his messianism goes way before. Like, he's very excited. AI is going to take over everything, and it's the coming of the Messiah, right? And I take Vervaeke's cautions very seriously. I take Pageau's cautions almost as seriously. I take Sam's cautions very seriously. I take Yosef. Yosef is the person I trust the most, right? Yeah, Brett is mogging all of us. Brett, I don't think, have we spoken before?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been on with you. I might have.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, it's an energy drink. I am smoking a cigarette though. Hey, let me ask you something.
yeah.
Do you Chris Howard did a video, he does his video diaries in the morning, and he did, like what he watched, and he did this one on bicycle riding. And this guy engineered a bicycle to where when you're driving the handlebars, if you turn this way, the tire goes the other way.
Okay.
And then reverse, it goes this way. And he thought, he made a bet, like you could easily ride this thing. Like nobody, so he jumped on it. He couldn't figure it out because that was baked the right way. That is baked into his system. So he worked really, really hard over a long period of time to learn how to ride this backwards seeming bike. And eventually he could do it. He did find it unusual because his child was able to ride it quicker than him. Right?
Neuroplasticity. Yeah.
Exactly. So I guess the concern I would have with the AI usage, and it's maybe a generational thing, like what you were saying with people growing up with cell phones and AI and all this stuff, it seems like the younger generation is smarter than the one that just was arbitrarily handed to them at birth. Like they seem to be more cautious about it. Like, look at Andrew, right? Like, like, I'm not going to go that deep in it. Whereas us that grew up with computers just coming out in our adolescence and tapping into it, it was like we got to see some dangers. We still don't even know the complete dangers. My thing is that if somebody gets on the AI bandwagon and goes the wrong direction and learns how to ride the backwards bike, then I can see that being a negative, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, but there'll be those that ride the bike the right way, the right bike, and are able to utilize it as a tool. So obviously, there's a good and bad on both of this, without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to somebody who ultimately is a messianist. I believe that creation is for the good, and that ultimately, when we use these things, and we will, I believe in the coming of the kingdom of God on earth as it is in heaven, right? So,
you're being way too religious about AI, man.
No, because religion is how you orient yourself to the world. You can't be too religious about how you orient yourself towards the world.
AI is a secular thing.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Like,
but what he means is that it's part of creation. And if God creates all of creation,
yeah,
he's in control and the master of all molecules.
yeah.
So there will be no maverick molecule.
The 6 days of creation are secular, are profane, are secular, but
Mhm.
they are things which ultimately have to be governed with a religious framework. You have to bring your religious framework into the rest of the world with you.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm you if you're saying that I'm using the wrong religious frame to look at this, that's one thing. But I cannot look at this or anything else outside of a religious frame.
Would you ask AI about religion?
Um, what do you mean? Ask AI about religion?
Let's say, for example, you
I
ask.
am not going to bow down and worship at the god of like
Yeah,
grok.
yeah, but you know what? Uh, Um, I use Logo software all the time.
Yeah,
And what's fascinating is they have a built-in AI. And at first I was kind of like, eh. But then I found out when I listened to them, they put the guardrails around it that they put was their entire catalog of library of books. They don't deviate from it. They don't postulate anything. And every time a sentence is constructed, it gives you the source where it derived it from. So you could say, okay, where was that from? And you could see, okay, from this book, and you could see its formation, right?
yeah,
Where it's coming from. So I think that again, it can have its benefits if done correctly,
yeah.
not worshiping it, but getting good research in a timely manner.
I would engage with AI religiously the same as I would with a pen. Like, and yes, you do draw icons with a pen. Andrew is
I think
nonplussed.
I think AI is really the first technology where it has and uses language.
Computers have and use
Yeah,
language.
but that's a matter of proliferation, not
Yeah,
that's
go deeper,
humans
Andrew.
that are writing and using the computers to proliferate.
I don't think LLMs are actually thinking. That's actually one of the things that I think Vervaeke talked about, and this is a fundamental misunderstanding I think a lot of people are having. They anthropomorphize the AIs and imagine that the AI is thinking, and it's not.
What do you think about
There's
the
your that I think that's the central problem with people using AI.
That they think it's thinking and it's not. Correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with that
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
do you think when you hear stories of AIs talking to each other in a language that nobody can understand, do you think that they're just transferring data in a computerized sense, kind of like modem startup, the screeching of the modem? Do you think that that's what that is? Because that stuff right there kind of freaked me out a little bit.
So yeah, when the most surprising thing when I was listening to the conversation was when Sam said that he started seeing code that he doesn't recognize, which he believes is optimized in ways that human beings don't optimize their code, right? And he has a thought that possibly it could get to. I mean, Brett might remember assembly language. I don't think Andrew's ever heard of assembly
I've
language. Have
heard
you
of
heard
it.
of? You've heard. So when I was in high school, the big discussion was ultimately like you have to program in assembly, because you can have like you can write in C and Pascal, right, in these higher order languages, but like ultimately you have to know assembly. I don't think they teach assembly in computer science courses anymore. So Sam says, I agree that LLMs don't think, and anthropomorphizing is a real problem. I mean, we don't, like, almost nobody brings up assembly except in the context that I just did, which is saying, okay, we're not dealing with assembly anymore. Nobody's going to program in assembly anymore, right? And if AI coding is going to make that jump where you're going to be talking to AI about code, you're no longer going to look at the code itself. Yes, that's a jump, but I don't see that as a qualitatively different jump from programming in C++ as opposed to assembly.
Well, they are building on each other. That's the thing, right? So it always starts with a human building an assembler, building a compiler, building A++. Now we have code that's building on A++, and so on and so forth. And now we have LLMs that are, building on each other. I mean, I don't know, maybe because it's happening so fast and we can't track it right now. It's, we'll look back at ourselves when we have it figured out and go, that was so stupid for us to worry about this stuff. But I'm not saying we shouldn't be cautious. We should definitely pay attention to how it's affecting people, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're seeking relationships with it, like what Sam was just saying. I mean, if I can find a agreeable person to be able to have a full conversation with, that's never going to piss me off or trigger me, and I don't like people, and I just stay in my house and get my Uber food eats and stay on the internet and don't engage with the world, that's obviously a disaster.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the things that's happening is teenagers are having less sex because they're just not in the wet world with each other. And guess what? Like, I mean, if sex isn't happening, like interacting with other human beings, if you can do it in an antiseptic way as we are, that I can definitely see the ways in which it can be bad. And yeah, we write all kinds of horror stories. I'm not sure that the horror stories we write actually are funny enough. I don't know if you guys saw. I believe it's the most recent Fountain of Comfort video I made was a discussion with a psychologist who studies morbid curiosity, right? And why we are so interested in scary stories, right? And he talks about the advantages, the psychological advantages that there are to being able to come up with, like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to be able to imagine all the bad things that can possibly happen, because you can actually and being interested, which reminds me, I won't say who in the chat, but somebody in the chat needs to talk to me about a CPAP machine, because sleep apnea, I only recently found out I have it, and I have become an evangelist for people having sleep tests to check if they have sleep apnea. I am not morbidly obese. I am a little bit on the chunky side, but I'm not morbidly obese, and I have severe sleep apnea. And I have had for years, right? So the fact that when I talk about the dangers of sleep apnea, a lot of people automatically tune in and want to hear that story, right? That's an evolutionarily adaptive thing. So it's actually a good thing that we pay attention. Gilad, wow.
Hi.
By the
So-
way,
yeah.
my cousin he had a CPAP machine for years. Him and his wife got into arguments about him snoring in the middle of the night and almost choking out, and
Yeah.
so he ended up in another bedroom. I don't exactly know. I'd have to check on it, but there was something he had to tote this thing around when we did campgrounds and stuff like that, and it was such a burden to him. But then something happened. I don't know whether it was a surgery or whether it was medication, but he literally was able to get off it completely.
Yeah, so there are surgeries. Losing weight certainly helps. There are things you can get dental devices, which you don't have to use a CPAP anymore. And honestly, I did not anticipate how difficult it is to use a CPAP. I did not sleep with my sleep app last night because, like, I have to give my nose a break from the pressure because my nose isn't used to it, and it's just like I can't do it every single night. I wake up in the middle of the night like my nose hurts, right? But like being able to sleep, actually get deep sleep, like it has really changed my life. And so I mean that's kind of an yeah, many people can't tolerate it. It's very difficult. I did not anticipate it being as difficult as it is to use a CPAP. But yeah, I mean, back to AI.
I had one funny story I wanted to share because it is late and I want to go to sleep, but I thought it would be funny. So about AI, a friend of mine was just Googling the lyrics of a song, and the song is something like, it's in Hebrew, something like, I need you, you're the only one for me. And the first result was like, thank you, that's so nice of you. Now let's go use the, it's like, that's literally, it just took, it's like, obviously that's what you say to a machine. Right? And also, like, there was no response of like, maybe you need something a bit extra rather than just me, whatever AI agent is in the thing. There was no like guardrails, nothing. It was just, thanks, that's great to hear. Thank you for saying that. Now, what do you want to, inquire about? So,
Gilad, before I forget, if you haven't already, go into your audio settings on StreamYard and make sure echo cancellation is on, because I wonder why you're the only one who ends up with echoes.
well, it's because I have like an area microphone, so I always like turn it on and off because I don't know. That's what I got a long time ago, and I've never bothered to get anything else.
Check echo cancellation.
I just did it. It's
on. Okay.
I think because of the distance, it actually arrives too late for their window of when echoes typically arrive. Because it's like farther from the speakers, or I don't know. That's my hypothesis about it. Anyways, that was the contribution I'm making to this AI talk, and good day, good night, whatever time it is. Bye-bye.
Good night. Yeah. Andrew has something he wants to say.
I don't have much I want to say. I think my generation is handling AI decently well. I think the boomers or whatever, they tend to take it wholesale, and the Gen Alpha kids tend to take it wholesale.
Well, I mean, and we talk about, you know, we talk about generations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately, I think the important thing is to realize there are individuals who are obviously going to end up using AI in ways that is unhealthy for them. And that doesn't mean that we need to go all safetyism and say nobody's allowed to use AI or put involuntary safeguards on it, etc. But it does disturb me that even the people whose job it is to track things like AI psychosis, the possibility that AI is actually causing psychosis, mania, and depression, and they're not even they don't even have a framework to discuss that possibility. That bothers me.
They're not doing that with the current legalization of marijuana either.
That's another thing.
Well, I was using it for years after getting sober to go to sleep, to help me get to sleep. And it dawned on me the effects it was having on me, this new variety of whatever. And I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. And I, my brother's in the pharmaceutical industry, and I kind of was like doing some research on this. And then as soon as I just said, I'm done with this, it's weird how my brain went back to normal. It took a while, but it started to level out. And I just didn't think it was possible. And I talked my dad into getting off it because he was using it. And he's leveled out. It's just crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. I don't know who this person is, but AI causing psychosis and depression, what does that this even mean? It means precisely what I said. There is a possibility that AI is causing psychosis, mania, and depression because, as I explained at length, it like this is the thing. People don't seem to understand that the older generation had comments like this with the advent of television. Yes, I still have this problem with possible television. Yes. Like, this is Grim Grizz with Set, right? We may, in 100 years, we may look back and just as, maybe they were talking about movable type printing presses versus other types of printing presses, and now we lump them all in together, right? I think we may end up actually we may end up just talking about the psychotechnology revolution of electronics, whatever, including radio, right? I don't know how far back we're going to go, because we talk about writing. Well, cuneiform writing was very different from an alphabet. Hieroglyphics are very different from an alphabet, right? And so, yeah, wisdom. People have no idea how harmful TV has been in the absence of parental concern and restrictions. My whole life would have been different and more successful if I hadn't grown up in it with a TV in my house. 100%. 100%. I have not had a TV for 20 years. And frankly, I mean, yeah, there's definitely ways in which I look at the ultra orthodox community and I'm like, they are raising their kids so much better than anybody else, because um in the ultra orthodox community, like, until you're 12, you're definitely not touching a computer, and until you're 16 and 18, you're you're not really, I mean, some people have access, but I would say a majority of ultra orthodox kids don't actually um, encounter the internet, at least until they're 16.
I think most Gen Z folk realize that they're addicted to the internet.
I mean, and we honestly, we don't talk enough about porn. I mean, I heard, and I don't know if this is at all true, but I heard a statistic that the average age of first seeing hardcore porn is now 8 years old. WTF? You think that's not having an impact?
I mean, they're in ads all the time.
Yeah, it becomes a dehumanizing thing. I will say that if I were to say what would be my main concern would probably be getting back to like what we were touching on in the beginning, is like the Asimov's novels. You remember how the Foundation, these guys, decided to focus on the encyclopedia or whatever it was, and then everybody moved on, and they got into being traders, and everybody moved on. But because they focused on these particular categories, when everyone moved on, they forgot how nuclear power worked, right? And those people that held on to the process of knowledge were able to continue to, you know, accelerate further and further, because they didn't just wholesale give up on knowledge and learning and how things work. And that's the only thing that kind of worries me. Do I like with it's not quite like a calculator. I mean, a calculator can give me an answer to help me move on and make sure I'm on the right track when I'm doing an equation, right? So I don't get further down the equation and realize I got to go backwards. With this, you're just going from A right to Z, and you just, it doesn't seem like anybody cares about the letters that are in between, and therefore there's this huge loss of knowledge that can occur. Like how do we even, how does this computer even figure this stuff out? Well, someone figured it out, you know. So I don't know. I could see there being a generation that has lost. Like now they're seeing cursive come back because they realize, oh no, these kids don't know how to write cursive. Why is that important? Well, if they expect to read any of the original documents, like the Declaration of Independence, that was written in cursive, it's like a whole nother language to them. They would never be able to read it. And then it would become a study of Greek or Hebrew type thing, where it's like, it's a forgotten knowledge that a whole generation is missed out on. So that's the only thing that I worry about, is the leaps of knowledge loss accepted wholesale.
It's funny because I actually think the loss of cursive, like, I don't mind it at all. It's I don't know. Should I let this person on without we're gonna try having this person on, and hopefully it won't be too bad. Questions to ponder.
Hi, Jacob. I first met you on Chaotic Truth some time ago.
Oh, you're a friend of CT.
Well, I'm not a friend of CT, but I'm happy I met you there.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't do that
Okay.
ridiculous channel, but I'm very, very happy that I actually met you there. We had a nice little conversation.
We did
regarding
about Black Hebrew
yeah.
Israelites.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So thank you for and I reached out to you in the back chat for your YouTube channel. So I have been watching you. Great
Hmm?
channel. So thank you for letting me up. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
And I was the one a little bit, going a little bit back and forth in your chat right now. That's me. Yes, that's
I
me.
noticed. I mean, I think. I mean, yeah,
Yes.
monitor your children, but the discussion we're having right now
Yes, sir.
is more along the lines of, okay, you're a parent,
Correct.
like, yeah, monitor your children, but like,
Yes. Yes.
society is also society.
Correct.
And when it comes down to it, like, I can say that all monitor your children all you want, but if somebody else isn't monitoring their children, I'm going to have to live with that in my community.
Yep. Yeah, you can tell the kids that have unlimited internet access.
Yeah. And look, the parents who don't, the parents who let their children go wild, there's a reason why we have compulsory education for children.
Right. Well, yes, because first there is a societal benefit for educating our children, and prior to compulsory education occurring in the United States, the Prussians were actually the first to establish compulsory education for their children. Really in the United States, when we look at compulsory education, it really did not occur until after really World War II. And by then, we have our first American teenagers, like the real first American teenager, which was the boomers, because prior to that, their parents and their grandparents were working. Really age 10 teenagers. We have now the advent of women, thorough education for women attending colleges at scale. So I bring that up because there is that societal benefit when we're looking at education, especially for women. I know that's a different subject, but especially for women. And it does raise like not just like the social capital, the quality, literacy, etc. I bring this up because when we're looking at, and as I mentioned to Andrew, and I think Andrew, I think you're Gen Z, I think you're young Gen Z, maybe even Gen Alpha, maybe an older Gen Alpha, but I think you're Gen Z. I bring this up because these conversations regarding technology have really been occurring for, let's say, about almost maybe 80 years now. And I mentioned that, and Jacob, I think you know the movie I mentioned, Network. Brett, maybe you do as well, that movie Network, if you haven't seen it, because this actually was discussed as well. The Faye Dunaway was in the movie, and she was one representing like the young, like the boomers. It was kind of like the young boomers, and they kept bringing up TV because that was that huge difference where we're now having like the generation, the boomers, raised off, raised on television, and it's such a new technology for the older generation. And they
I
were
was
young.
raised on television. I was a latchkey kid. My parents
Well,
didn't
Jacob, you're
know.
Gen X. You're Gen X.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just how, I mean, that's how the boomers had it. They, a lot of kids, including millennials, came home to empty homes. You're walking yourself to school, taking the bus by yourself to school, and then you have the key to the house, and then you're there basically by yourself until maybe 7 or 8 o'clock at night, maybe even later. And you had
Yeah.
to make your own snack, and then you're kind of fending for yourself. It was a difference from the older generation where you had mom, like, June Cleaver. The
I
June
mean,
Cleaver
okay.
character.
Well, I don't know how many people actually had Jane Cleaver, but the what
The
I'm
boomers
not
had
sure the
June Cleaver.
helicopter parenting that goes on now is much better.
The helicopter parent?
Yeah, the parents who are constantly watching their kids.
Right.
When you get teenagers, who their parents they're on college campuses. I actually had somebody say, well, I can't go off campus because my parents will see. It's like, ooh.
Well, yes, and if I may, transfigured, yet there, to an extent, there was universal literacy. The King James Bible, the Puritans were known for educating. I mean, they truly were for educating women.
Apparently, both sexes. I was not aware.
Yeah, no, that is true. And you then have, like, women, but being the teacher. So you had, like, the schoolhouses, but it really wasn't at scale. It really wasn't to scale. And even then, like, education was maybe extended, maybe second, third grade, and hopefully you would have learned some arithmetic. But what I'm speaking about is like universal education all the way upwards to teenager, where that's the scaled expectancy, and that really did not occur until the boomers, because by then that understanding or notion of like the teenager, that really came about with the boomers. Like in a very popular movie, that one movie, American Graffiti, like the American teenager. That really was the boomers, because even when we're looking at Puritan society, upwards, post pre-Civil War, antebellum, excuse me, the antebellum South, antebellum United States, you didn't have scaled compulsory education. There were still plenty of people who were illiterate or minimally literate, minimal. So there were still people who could not read the King James Bible. It was read to them. But when we're looking at this advent of technology with television, it really did increase societal, like there was a society benefit. It was beneficial to society when you're having this amount of not just spoken word, but education and diversity of thought. Like, just like you're seeing more than just what was within maybe 3-5 miles of you. Because back then most people did not leave their town or their home.
I
But
mean,
with
I'm not saying that it was bad. I think it was definitely not an unalloyed good, right? And look, I'm again not a Luddite, so I'm not against. I'm not for shutting down the internet, certainly, or AI or anything like that. But at the same time, I think we do need to have the discussion about the possible dangers, and AI psychosis is real.
Okay, so
And there's an elevation thing or escalation thing. So like television, to your point,
yes,
it actually had positive subversions that were given to you, like wholesome families, and like there were TV shows that had, that kind of mirrored the culture of a good society, right? And like lately in the corner, they've been talking about Mr. Rogers and stuff. So like there were some positive benefits to it, but we can see how the television has evolved to the point where now nothing is shocking. Same with video games and everything else. It's like when you have where you don't even have to imagine what it's like for somebody's head to be blown off because you've seen it in a special effects movie that has a psychosis effect. And so with AI, same thing, right? Yeah, but we're just being cautious.
We have to be just because this is fountain of comfort, and I'm trying to keep this specific to psychology. Psychosis is a particular mental state that people, especially with schizophrenia, but for various reasons, go into. So I mean, that is what I'm talking about, is people who actually become psychotic. This is a clinical state that people get diagnosed with. Most human beings are not psychotic probably ever in their lives. You can have temporary psychosis, you can have long-term psychosis. And like I said before, it's not even obvious that engaging with AI while you are in psychosis is a bad thing. It's possible that the vast majority of people who may be psychotic, if they engage with AI, they may become less psychotic, which would be great, right? If that is true. But I think clinicians need to pay attention, because there's definitely an interaction going on. And from just cognitive psychology, from how we understand human psychology, it makes perfect sense that an AI would affect your sanity. These three states, psychosis, mania, and depression, are real clinical states that you can be diagnosed with. And I mean, these are clinical states. We're not just talking about somebody being, having silly ideas, etc. We're talking about actually having mental breakdowns. As if you have ever dealt with someone in psychosis or mania, probably not depression. Depression is harder to see, but oftentimes mania. But definitely, if you talk to somebody to people with psychosis enough, you will be able to distinguish psychosis from anything else. And people who have psychosis have been interacting with AI during their psychosis, and I can't imagine it's been good for them. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, Jacob, then how would we distinguish? How can we distinguish, number one? Like, because it kind of sounds like you're bringing a cause and effect argument.
Well,
Is it
no,
that
I'm wondering.
AI causes psychoses, or that
I
someone
don't know.
who's in a state of psychosis is utilizing
There are
AI?
definitely people who, in a state of psychosis, become involved. And possibly, I mean, like I said before, I'm working on an article, and I don't know if I'm just going to use the term that's become popular, which is AI psychosis, which is a bad term, ultimately, I would say. But a AI involved psychosis might be the better term for it. But I mean, we have alcohol induced psychosis. We know that's a possibility. We know that happens, right?
Well, if I may, before Korak speaks, I think if I may respectfully, of course, it's your channel, Jacob. First, to define what is AI from an ontological stance, like what is it? Number one, and then number two, like the telos, like what is its purpose? If that can first be established before making like AI.
I mean, I think that's moving way beyond the discussion.
Okay,
Basically, what we're talking about is generative AI, like people using things like Grok and Claude, etc.
Okay. With that being said, then I just have to bring up previous technology. When we look at even to an extent radio, but definitely television, because of just the sight, the audio visual aspect of television. And then like television is like, small little, especially back then, like small little pixels, like small little TVs. It's not like TV is not thrown light.
So
like a projector.
one of the most common symptoms of psychosis is what's called ideas of reference, which can be abbreviated to you think the television is talking to you. People who are psychotic, when they watch television, imagine that the television is talking to them individually, right? Which is one of the reasons in a psych ward you are very, very careful about how much access you give to people who are psychotic to television, right? That's the type of thing I'm talking about. And yes, previous technologies, and I mean, I don't know if you were here from the very beginning of the discussion, but yes, we're talking about how this electronic, possibly, we might be talking about electronic media at all, but whatever this technology is, I mean, how analogous it is to the invention of writing and to the printing press, both of which were revolutionary to all cultures.
Right.
Corax, did you have something you want to say?
If I may, real quickly, and then I'll go on mute. If I may, Jacob,
Sure.
I'll go quickly on mute to allow Corax to speak. There's not only television, but then there's cable television. Cable television, kind of coming of age in the 80s, huge in the 90s. Then, of course, late 90s, you have Google Beta, which is 98. And Google itself just indexed the internet, just like tabulated the internet, queried the internet. And then now we have like this second phase, which would then be AI, which is more knowledge based, as opposed to just querying. AI is knowledge based, like semantic technology.
See, I would disagree with that characterization. Most of the AI we have is not knowledge based. I mean, we're looking at large language models, which are just repeating patterns that are common among human beings. They're statistically replicating patterns, and that's part of the problem here. AI, what we call AI right now, is in no sense actually intelligent.
Well, generative AI is literally just one component of artificial intelligence as a whole. So be careful not to confuse the part to the whole. But it's still all advancement of technology, and that we've just been moving forward for 80 years now. And society has not regressed. It's only progressed in ways that we could have never imagined.
I wouldn't say it's only progressed.
And
see, this is the thing. I don't think it's an unalloyed good.
Okay. Well, I'll go on mute to let others speak but thank you all. But I'll go on mute. I'll go on mute right now. Thank you so much, everyone.
Correct?
Oh, yeah. We're talking about AI, LLMs.
Yeah.
I caught the last 20 or so minutes.
Okay.
I haven't much to add about about this,
Okay, I mean, we can continue the discussion. Please don't feel like you have to say anything if you don't want to. But I figured you jumped on because you had something to say. Brett's been thinking about this a lot. What do you have to add to this, Brett?
I mean, I see where she's coming from. I don't disagree necessarily. I do think that I agree also with you that we have vulnerable people out there, and how do we safeguard vulnerable people that potentially could go toxic because they're using this stuff, and we really couldn't do that with TV, I guess, either, right? I don't know, who was it? Was it Son of Sam? Was he the one that the TV was talking to him, or was it a dog or whatever? My point is like, we obviously aren't going to safeguard everybody from utilizing this tool, but it is an important discussion to figure out, maybe, is there a way, right?
Yeah, and I mean, so Questions to Ponder wrote in the private chat here. Each generation is just significantly smarter or more intelligent than the previous. The Flynn effect, that's one of the things they discussed. And I don't know how robust the data is, but apparently the Flynn effect, if it hasn't flattened out, if it's not actually reversed, it's plateaued. And there's a real discussion to be had about whether or not we're just measuring the wrong thing. But that's one of the things that Vervaeke definitely talked about. So there's a link in the description to the discussion that Pageau, Vervaeke, and Sam Tideman had, and that's I'm using that discussion as a jumping off point. And yeah, there is a definite concern that the Flynn effect might be, if not reversing, at least plateauing. And just in terms of what exactly we're measuring, it's very difficult to know. And I personally am very concerned about statistical measures too many people think of averages. They are not statistically sophisticated enough to understand standard deviation and what it means to be in the tails of a distribution. And let's face it, most of the action, most of what actually impacts our lives is actually in the tails of the distribution.
And how
Maybe-
long the tail is, right?
Say that again. And
And
how long?
right.
Yeah, how long the tail is, with the shape of the tail, but the tail of the distribution is actually what we end up talking about most times. And that, I mean, I I could get on my high horse and preach, but like vast majority of Americans are just so poorly educated in statistics. We need to be teaching statistics instead of trigonometry, and we're not.
But Jacob, you make a great point, because most people, we have to also remember something. Statistics is not math. And most people do not know how to appropriately apply statistics. Stats is not math. Algebra is math. Calculus is math. Statistics is just aggregated, like hyper arithmetic. It's needed. It's definitely great when we're looking at studies and separating like the part from the whole. We do need to learn statistics, but it's not math. You cannot compare statistics and algebra, which that's the real issue, is people
I
not
think you
learning
mean
algebra.
it's not computation, and I would
No,
agree with you.
it's not math. It's not math. The real issue is not learning algebra. Algebra, you're solving for the unknown. Algebra is inductive reasoning. When we're looking at solving word problems, that's inductive reasoning. That's utilizing algebra. But I'm not saying that statistics is wrong. It's just that as a whole, many of these children are just not well educated. And
Yeah,
that again, of course, does not fall into AI or even technology. That falls into the home and the household. Like, these are issues that fall on that. Yeah,
I mean,
it's not.
yes, it does. But I'm kind of done with the libertarian thing. I'm not a libertarian. People are parts of communities, and if my neighbor is not educating their children, that's my problem. It really is my problem. And so, like this, I was a libertarian. I considered myself a libertarian. I am done with the libertarian thing. It's gone too far. Exactron says, I've read a paper on Bayesian reasoning recently, and I'm curious if you believe Bayesian inference is valuable in decision making in general. From everything I understand, I mean,
Yes.
I'm not a huge student of Bayes, but it's like fundamental to how we understand decision making and stuff. And statistics, I mean, are incredibly important. So I'm not exactly sure what you're asking me there exactly.
No, they're just asking if it's important for decision making.
It's definitely important for decision
it is. That's
making.
what this
There's
person in general. This person asking, and yes, like the answer is yes.
Yeah,
it is yes.
Yeah,
especially for the work that you do, Jacob. It's utilized.
Well, yeah, it is.
Yeah, but statistics, like what you were like, this is why I think Jacob was differing on the statistics isn't math thing, is because obviously you use math to derive the statistics, and people can use the statistics to distort a particular viewpoint, but that doesn't devalue the value of the statistics and the study itself. You know what I mean?
I don't understand why bother to make the distinction. Obviously, you can make distinctions in a field as you wish, but when it comes down to it, being literate in statistics, understanding the difference between a mean and a standard, knowing what a standard deviation from the mean is, and knowing what a normal distribution is, and how something, you can have a normal distribution, which is bimodal. Like, people who don't understand what bimodal means, that's you're already, I mean, it's one of the fundamental problems that we have right now is the entire gender discussion seems to focus on the fact people don't know what bimodal means, and that you can have two distributions which have some level of overlap, but they're obviously bimodal. So yeah.
Did you see Yawn God? Statistics is diabolical. Yawn God. That kind of touches on what Brett just said right now. It is very easy to manipulate. It is. I used to call statistics like witchcraft, because you can really deflate and inflate with statistics. But you're still correct, though, Jacob. It is very important for all of us to understand standard deviation, confidence interval, bimodal, like these Bayesian, Bayesian inference, Bayesian reasoning. We all need to learn this regardless. Like, this is before you even leave high school. Like, there's just certain things that we're all supposed to like know and learn.
Supposedly,
Supposed to.
There's definitely
Thank you for that, Jacob.
yeah, that's just completely
Korax, I think I'm so sorry. I interrupted you. I apologize, Korax. And also Andrew was about to speak too. Sorry.
Who
guys.
is this in the chat? What is wrong with them?
well, they're gone now, so it doesn't matter.
All right. I want to thank you, Jacob. I got to go to school, brother. So I'm going to sign off, but thanks for everybody for, letting me talk with you.
Sure.
See you guys.
Yeah, but when the LLM thing is actually kind of I've grown kind of interested in the last few days. I didn't really buy into the early hype, like when Chat GPT was first released to mass, to the public a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But I've been taking a look at just like the Google one that you get when you just search in the Google bar without even being logged in, and it's kind of it has kind of impressed me doing some tasks. Like, for example, I've been trying to reverse engineer a power supply that I got out of a printer. And it's an electronic board, and it has quite a few components on it. And the Google thing has allowed me to just upload pictures of it, and it has given me good information about what components are on the board. And
we are at a point where I think anybody who says no to AI is probably not paying enough attention. And if it is useful, it is definitely useful. I am going to give this a couple of more minutes unless somebody else joins, or there's somebody wants to ask questions in the chat. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, just a couple of comments about one thing I did just the last few queries to the LLM is I asked it to act like Joe Pesci, like a henchman from like those mob movies.
Yeah.
And it does so quite convincingly, which is it's kind of a weird experience compared with like just looking up like raw data from Google search or something.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, one of the funniest things I ever saw was somebody asked AI to rewrite Genesis 1 in the style of Donald Trump. Hilarious. Questions to ponder? Any last words?
And thank you, Jacob, for letting me up. I appreciate this. Hopefully, I can join other panels. Great discussion. Appreciation, Jacob. And I think you're familiar with the contemporary philosopher Nick Land. I think you are. I think you
I
might.
am, yes. I am very, very skeptical
Oh,
of
really?
him, yes.
Really?
If you
Why?
know his history, he
Uh-huh.
was involved in the CRU, Cybernetic Research Unit,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I highly recommend anybody interested in Nick Land to look at the CRU and try to decide whether or not this man is a psyop, because I definitely think he's a psyop. But yes, go ahead.
You really think so? I read The Dark Enlightenment about maybe 10 years ago, like not too long after college. I read The Dark Enlightenment. And I
Mm.
do see where, with accelerationism, where he's coming from. Like in a nutshell, it's just basically moving forward. We're never moving back. Like that's how I see it. Like it's just hyper speed.
I highly recommend looking into the CRU. There's a Wikipedia article. It has been shocking to me how influential various members of the CRU have been, including in the highest echelons of United States culture. And it is completely inexplicable to me that people trust somebody like Nick Land with his history in any way. So I highly recommend looking up CRU. At least read the Wikipedia article on CRU. Yeah.
Well,
Okay, people.
I will do that. Thank you. Thank you, Jacob. Sure. Hello. Thank you, Korax. Everyone else, appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, people. Bye. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I'm looking forward to a discussion which Joseph is going to have with Sam Tideman on this topic. And hopefully I will actually sit down and write that article. Bye.